What if Jon Snow was raised as a Targaryen from birth? Prince Rhaegar Targaryen stands knee-deep in the cold waters of the Trident. His chest heaves with each breath, plate armor smeared with mud and blood. Robert Baratheon lies lifeless a few yards away, face half submerged in the river shallows. The rebel lord's famed warhammer is still clutched in his gauntlet, but Robert's reign of fury is over. Rhaegar has slain him, narrowly, brutally, and the realm is now his to reclaim. Rhaegar lifts his helm from his head and lets it fall into the red-stained water. Long silver gold hair tumbles free around his shoulders. He feels no triumph, only exhaustion and a mounting dread for what comes next. As cheers begin to rise from the loyalist lines along the riverbank, Rhaegar wades toward the shore where his bannermen gather. His armor feels unbearably heavy. Each step sends ripples through crimson-tinged water. On the bank, Lord Jon Connington and Ser Barristan Selmy rush forward to meet him. Barristan, helmet lost, an improvised bandage around his sword arm, manages a wan smile. "Your Grace, the field is yours," he says, voice strained but respectful. Rhaegar nods, then looks past them at the disarray. Hundreds of men cheer his name. "Rhaegar! Rhaegar!" Others sob or tend to the wounded. The ruby-studded breastplate he wears, rubies now cracked and dark with blood, feels like a mocking weight. A chunk of Robert's hammer nearly caved it in. Grim. "The cost was high," Rhaegar answers quietly. "So many dead." His violet eyes scan the banks for familiar faces. Prince Lewin Martell of the Kingsguard lies motionless among the fallen. Rhaegar's heart clenches at the sight of his wife's uncle. Countless loyal spearmen and knights from the Reach and Crownlands lie scattered with the rebels from the north and Vale. A tragic waste. Lord Connington, Rhaegar's close friend, red-haired and fierce-eyed, clasps his shoulder. "We must secure the crossing, Your Grace, and send riders after the retreating rebels," Connington urges. The remnants of Robert's host are already streaming south in a rout. Without Robert, the rebel cause will collapse, but pockets of resistance may remain. "Give the order, and I'll see to it." Rah. Rhaegar takes a long breath, steadying himself. He should press the advantage and capture the rebels and leaders swiftly. Eddard Stark, Jon Arryn, Hoster Tully, before they can regroup. Yet another, more urgent worry gnaws at him. Lyanna. Lyanna is close to her time. He turns to Barristan. "Ser Barristan, have we had any word from Lord Arthur?" His voice trembles slightly on the name. Ser Arthur Dayne, the Sword of the Morning, is not here on the battlefield. At Rhaegar's command, Arthur remained in the south with 2 other Kingsguard to guard Lyanna Stark. The Tower of Joy, that's where she is, awaiting him as the war raged around them. Rhaegar's chest tightens at the thought that he's left her so long. 7 saved me. I should have been with her. Barristan's expression turns apologetic. He shifts his weight, wounded arm held stiffly. "No new ravens, Your Grace." The last word said Lady Lyanna was in good health, but that was weeks past. He hesitates. "If I may ask, gentle, are you hurt, Prince Rhaegar?" Only now does Rhaegar notice a dull ache in his side. Robert's warhammer dealt him a glancing blow that crushed rubies and likely a rib or 2. But pain is inconsequential next to his worry. "It's nothing," he says, waving off the concern. Water streams from his armor as he steps up onto dry land. Ready the cavalry to pursue the rebels, and Lord Connington. Rhaegar faces his friend directly. "You have command here until further orders. I ride at once for the Tower of Joy." Connington blinks in astonishment. "Your Grace, I beg you, at least allow some of your guard to escort you. The rebels still have men in the field. Your safety, my safety lies with my Kingsguard." Rhaegar interjects with a shake of his head. "Arthur Dayne awaits me with my father's finest knights. I'll not sit another day while Lyanna..." He trails off, but everyone knows what he means. While Lyanna Stark, the woman he loves, struggles through her pregnancy alone. Barristan furrows his brow, concern evident. The war is not yet fully won. Eddard Stark still leads a host in the south. We don't know where they've fled after Robert's fall. If you ride for Dorne, I'll ride swiftly and with few men, Rhaegar insists, voice firm. A small party will pass unnoticed, and I trust Lord Stark has more pressing worries now than hunting me. Rhaegar closes his eyes for a moment. In truth, he does not relish facing Ned Stark, Lyanna's eldest brother, but that reckoning will come soon regardless. For now, Lyanna and their child are paramount. Prophecy be damned. I will not fail them. He can still see Lyanna's tear-stained face the day he left her at the tower, whispering that he would come back for her. Rhaegar opens his eyes and lays a hand on Barristan's uninjured shoulder. Sir Barristan, you are needed here to see the wounded tended and the victory secured. I leave that duty to you and Lord Connington. The Trident is won. Now I must ensure my son is born safely. His tone softens at the end, a rare warmth breaking through the princely composure. Barristan bows his head. As you command, Your Grace, he says, accepting it. Connington, too, kneels briefly in acknowledgement, though concern still clouds his features. Within the hour, Rhaegar has assembled a small escort of loyal knights, no more than 5 men to ride with him south. He dons a fresh cloak emblazoned with the 3-headed dragon of House Targaryen, the fabric covering his dented armor. Before he departs, Rhaegar gives one last order. Send ravens to King's Landing. Inform my father and the council of our victory here. He pauses, then adds grimly, and advise caution. Lord Tywin Lannister has been sitting idle at the gates of King's Landing. He may decide to help in ways we do not desire. The last thing Rhaegar needs is Tywin Lannister taking advantage of the aftermath. Connington nods. I'll warn the Red Keep, Your Grace. Go, and may the gods be with you. With that, Rhaegar swings onto his horse, a swift gray destrier flecked with sweat. He pulls on a fresh pair of gloves to hide how his hands are shaking. As the prince spurs his horse, leaving the bloody river behind, a gust of wind ripples through the banners on the field. The dragon of Targaryen and the stag of Baratheon both flutter over the corpse-strewn banks of the Trident. One king has fallen, and another rides hard toward an uncertain dawn. Narrative somber. In Rhaegar's heart, victory and fear war in equal measure, for he knows that winning the throne will mean nothing if he cannot save what he truly holds dear. The Tower of Joy, Eddard Stark drives his heels into his horse's flanks, urging the tired animal up the stony slope. The Tower of Joy rises before him against a blazing Dornish sky, a lonely gray spire in the deep mountains. Ned's breath is ragged from days of hard riding, but he cannot stop now. Lyanna is here. She must be. 6 companions ride behind Ned, grim men of the North and the Vale who survived the rebellion's last defeats. Among them are Howland Reed, Ned's slight, marsh-born friend, and Martin Castle, his sworn sword. They all know what this journey is for. Ned has spoken little since he led them south, but they understand. Lyanna Stark, Ned's beloved younger sister, was stolen away to Dorne. This tower is the last hope of finding her alive, amidst the ruin of their failed war. As they crest the hill, Ned's stomach clenches. 3 knights in gleaming white armor stand guard before the tower entrance. Even from a distance, the rays of afternoon sun catch the silvered steel of their armor and the long, pale cloaks cascading from their shoulders. The Kingsguard. Ned recognizes Ser Arthur Dayne by the great sword drawn at his back, its milk-glass blade unmistakable. Beside him is Sir Oswell Went, marked by the black bat sigil on his white armor, and towering Sir Gerald Hightower, the aging Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. They form a line at the base of the tower, blocking the arched entry. Ned reins in, heart pounding. The presence of the Kingsguard here confirms it. Lyanna is inside. Alive, he prays. But why are these royal knights still here, so far from any battle? The war should be over. The rebels lost when Robert fell at the Trident. Yet these Kingsguard did not rejoin the fighting or return to King's Landing. They have remained to guard Lyanna, even now. Guarding her, or keeping her prisoner. Ned thinks bitterly. He feels the old grief and anger twisting inside him at the sight of Arthur Dayne. Arthur, once a friend in tournaments past, now a stranger with a drawn sword. This was the man who aided Rhaegar in abducting Lyanna, who stood by while Ned's father and brother were murdered in King's Landing. Ned's voice comes out low and hoarse. Arthur, he calls across the hot wind. I've come for my sister, demanding, where is Lyanna? The three white knights exchange glances, but do not move from their vigil. Arthur Dayne steps forward, sunlight gleaming off his winged helmet. He has no smile for Ned now. Lord Eddard, Arthur replies evenly, solemn. We are sworn to protect the tower. No farther. Martin Cassell curses under his breath. Ned keeps his grip tight on his sword ice. His mare paws at the rocky ground, sensing his tension. By what right do you hold her? Ned shouts, voice echoing. The war is done. Rhaegar's forces won the day, or so we hear. You have no cause to continue this. He seeks any hint of Lyanna, a cry, a shadow at a window, but sees nothing beyond the high pale stone and the Kingsguard's impassive stance. Gerald Hightower's face is grave beneath his white cloak's hood. We are the Kingsguard, he calls back, as if that alone is answer enough. Behind Ned, Howland Reed murmurs urgently, Ned, we cannot brook delay. Your sister. Ned knows. Every moment might count. Dread has been coiling tighter with each passing mile south. Something is wrong. Why else would Lyanna still be hidden away, guarded, instead of returned home after Rhaegar's victory? Unless she's ill. Or worse. The thought makes his heart thunder. He raises his sword, the weight of Valyrian steel steadying his trembling arm. I will ask once more, Ned Stark says, voice hard as the blade he wields. Yield now, in the name of King Robert Baratheon. Robert Baratheon is dead, Arthur Dayne interrupts, his tone soft but unyielding. Those 4 words fall like a hammer on Ned's heart. He suspected as much after fleeing the Battle of the Trident, but hearing it confirmed is a blow. Robert, his friend and brother in arms, gone. That means the rebellion truly has failed. And Lyanna's fate? Ned shakes his head sharply, refusing to spare. Dead or alive, Lyanna is my blood. I will have her back. He pulls his helm down over his brow. The other Northerners and men of the Vale unsheathe their swords behind him. Their breaths hang in the hot air. Move aside. Or die. A long silence. Then Sir Gerald draws his longsword in a flourish of steel. Arthur Dayne lifts dawn from its scabbard, the great sword catching the sunlight like a shard of dawnlight. Sir Oswell twirls a blade in each hand, face grim. We swore a vow, Hightower declares, resolute. And now it begins. No, Ned replies coldly. Now it ends. He thrusts his sword forward, spurring his horse down the slope at the Kingsguard. The clash is as sudden and violent as a summer storm. Ned's companions charge with him, shouting oaths of vengeance for the Starks, for the fallen rebels. The Kingsguard meet them head-on. Arthur Dayne sidesteps Ned's first swing with fluid grace, dawn paring ice in a shower of sparks. Their horses rear and scream at the proximity of clashing steel. To Ned's left, Martin Castle engages Oswell Went, sword dancing against dagger. Howland Reed knocks an arrow and lets it fly at Gerald Hightower. The Grey Bull knocks it aside with his shield, then slashes one of Ned's men from the saddle with brutal strength. Steel rings against steel. Hooves churn dust and sand. Ned grits his teeth and trades blows with Arthur Dayne. Dayne is as peerless as the songs claim, the sword of the morning moving with a deadly beauty. Each strike of dawn jolts Ned's arms to the bone. Arthur fights in complete silence, expression sorrowful but determined. There is no hatred in his eyes, only duty. That only angers Ned more. Furious. You should have been our friend, Dayne. Ned snarls as he struggles to hold against a rain of swift strikes. My father trusted you. Arthur's jaw tenses. Your father was murdered by the Mad King. I had no part, he says between blows. I serve the crown, Ned, as do we all. Ned roars, bringing ice down in a heavy overhand swing. Arthur pivots. The ancient blade Dawn catches ice and wrenches it to the side, nearly ripping Ned's weapon from his grasp. Arthur's riposte comes within a hair of Ned's throat, a killing stroke narrowly avoided. A scream to the right. Martin Castle falls from his horse, one of Sir Oswell's swords buried in his gut. Martin! Ned hears himself shout. The man crashes to the ground, coughing blood, and goes still. Anguish and fury pound in Ned's chest. In a blur of rage, he counterattacks Arthur savagely, forcing the knight backward a step. Then a piercing cry echoes from the tower, a woman's cry of pain. All combatants falter, eyes turning to the tower's upper window where the sound emanated. Ned's heart lurches. Lyanna. He would know his sister's voice even distorted by agony. Lyanna, Ned calls desperately. Distracted, he barely blocks Arthur's next strike. Howland Reed drops his bow and draws a short spear, rushing to cover Ned's side as Gerald Hightower bears down on them with shield and sword. Ned, watch out, Howland yells. Ned twists just in time as Hightower's blade whooshes past his ear. The Kingsguard have regrouped from the momentary pause. Oswell Went lunges at Howland, forcing him to parry frantically. Another of Ned's men falls to a swift slash across the neck, collapsing with a gurgle into the dust. It's 3 against 5 now, but Ned's party is flagging, and the Kingsguard fight like demons. The Northerners circle back to back near the foot of the tower as the White Knights encircle them. Ned's horse was cut from under him moments ago. He stands on foot now, ice held in a two-handed grip. His breaths come in ragged gasps, sweat stinging his eyes. 2 of his companions lie dead or dying. Howland bleeds from a slice across his forehead. Arthur Dayne faces Ned again, his white cloak torn and dusty, Dawn's pale blade shining. Behind Arthur, the wooden door of the tower suddenly bangs open. A commanding voice rings out, "Stop!" Authoritative. Everyone freezes at that shout. From the tower's doorway, Prince Rhaegar Targaryen emerges, cradling a small bundled form against his chest. His silver hair clings to his sweat-damp face. He wears no armor now, only a simple tunic stained with fresh blood. And in his arms is a newborn infant, swaddled in a red silk cloak. Ned's blood feels like ice in his veins at the sight of Rhaegar, the man who started this entire war, standing here with Lyanna's child. For a heartbeat, Ned forgets to breathe. His gaze jumps from the infant to Rhaegar's face. The Targaryen prince's expression is anguished and resolute. "Lower your swords," Rhaegar commands sharply, sweeping his violet eyes over Kingsguard and Northerners alike. Arthur Dayne immediately steps back, lowering Dawn and breathing hard. Gerald and Oswald do the same, though their posture remains wary. Ned's surviving men glance at him uncertainly, but Ned keeps his sword raised, every muscle trembling with adrenaline and shock. Rhaegar does not answer at once. He steps forward slowly, one hand supporting the tiny bundle in his arms. Ned's eyes dart to the bundle. He sees a flash of a baby's ruddy face, tufts of dark hair. The babe gives a weak wail, as if protesting the clamor outside. Rhaegar gently adjusts the blanket around the child, then meets Ned's eyes across the short distance between them. The prince's gaze is damp with unshed tears. Lyanna is inside, Rhaegar says quietly. She's asking for you, Lord Stark. Soft. Go to her. Now. Ned hesitates only a moment. Then he nods curtly to his remaining men to hold their ground and pushes past Gerald Hightower into the tower's door. He does not sheath his sword. He carries it, point down, at his side as he rushes into the cool dimness of the tower's base and up the narrow spiral stairs 2 at a time. Lyanna, Ned calls, voice echoing off the stone. There is no answer save a muffled sob from above. He bursts into a small bedchamber on the 2nd floor, and the sight before him stops him in his tracks. Lyanna lies on a simple straw-stuffed bed, pale as winter frost against blood-soaked sheets. The metallic scent of blood and the cloying sweetness of wilting roses permeate the chamber. Blue winter roses, Ned realizes in an instant, seeing the petals scattered around his sister's bed. They must be from the wreath Rhaegar crowned her with at Harrenhal, now browned and crushed. Lyanna turns her head at Ned's arrival. Her face lights with relief, even as pain makes her features taut. Ned, she whispers, barely audible. Tears stain her cheeks. Ned is at her side in an instant, falling to his knees and taking her hand. Her skin is so hot, burning with fever. I'm here, Ned chokes out, squeezing that hand gently as if he could anchor her to life. Gods, she's so thin and ashen. Her breathing is shallow. Ned's eyes burn with tears at the sight of her. Lya, I'm here now. Lyanna's cracked lips tilt in the ghost of a smile. You came for me, she breathes. Ned fights back a sob. Of course I did. Just hold on, we'll get you home to Winterfell. You'll be safe. But as he speaks, his eyes fall to the dark blood soaking the bed and the soaked linens piled at Lyanna's feet. So much blood. Ned's words die in his throat. He's seen this before. Women of the North lost in childbed fever. Dread courses through him. Lya, you're bleeding. Lyanna coughs faintly, a bitter laugh. The baby came, she manages, voice trembling. I'm sorry, Ned. I'm so sorry. Her fingers clutch weakly at his. No, don't be sorry. Ned feels tears slip down his face, but he forces a reassuring smile. You're going to be all right, I promise. We'll fetch a maester. Lyanna's head moves in a tiny shake. Her breathing is ragged. Too late for maesters. She closes her eyes, and for a moment, Ned fears that was her last breath. But then, Lyanna's lashes flutter, and she fixes him with a fever-bright gaze. Listen to me, Eddard. Ned nods frantically, leaning closer. The world outside this room falls away. He can no longer hear the voices beyond the window or the pain in his own bruised body. There is only his sister's faint voice and the grip of her hand. Lyanna swallows, mustering her strength. His name is Aemon, she whispers. Rhaegar will call him Aemon after the Dragon Night. I wanted to name him Jon for father, but Aemon is a good name. Her lips tremble. Promise me, Ned. Ned blinks through his tears. Jon. The mention of their father opens a fresh wound in his heart. promise. Anything, he whispers, not even sure what he's agreeing to, only desperate to ease her fear. He brushes a damp strand of hair from Lyanna's brow. Only stay with me. Please, stay. Lyanna's grip on his hand tightens with surprising strength. Promise me, she repeats, pleading softly. Protect him. Protect my son. Don't let Robert's friends hurt him, or Lord Tywin, or anyone. A tear slips from the corner of her eye. He's just a baby. He's my boy, Ned, and he's his too. She doesn't need to say whose. Ned understands. This child is Rhaegar's blood as well as hers, a boy with the blood of dragon and wolf. Ned's throat constricts. How can he promise such a thing? Robert is dead, but there are many who might want vengeance on any surviving Targaryens, even an innocent babe. And what of the boy's father? And Rhaegar has the babe now. Will he even allow Ned near him? But Ned cannot refuse his dying sister. He bows his head, tears dropping onto their joined hands. I swear it, he whispers. On my honor, Lyanna, I'll protect him. I'll protect Jon, Aemon, with my life. I won't let anyone hurt him. I promise you. Lyanna's eyes find his, as if weighing the vow. At last she lets out a small sigh of relief. You're a good brother, she says, voice scarcely more than breath. She seems to sag into the bloody bed, the last of her strength fading now that Ned has given his word. Tell father, I missed him. And Brandon. A sob catches in Ned's chest. I will. Hush now. Rest. He strokes her hair gently, blinking tears. Outside, the baby gives another thin wail in Rhaegar's arms, audible through the open door. Lyanna hears it. She turns her head weakly toward the sound. Bring him to me, she says. I want to see him one last time. A shuddering breath. Please. Ned hesitates. He doesn't want to leave her side even for a moment. But Lyanna's wish is clear. I'll fetch him, Ned assures her softly. He leans down and presses a tender kiss to her forehead. Her skin is burning, sweat-drenched, and fevered. I'll be right back, Lya. With reluctance, Ned releases her hand and rises. He wipes his eyes on his sleeve and turns toward the stair, anger stirring anew beneath his grief. The babe's cries grow louder as he descends to the entrance. Ned emerges back into the harsh Dornish sunlight, blinking. Rhaegar still stands at the threshold, now flanked by Arthur Dayne. The other Kingsguard have withdrawn a respectful distance, tending to their wounded and Ned's fallen men. Howland Reed kneels beside Martin Castle's body, grief-stricken, but alive. For now, a tense peace has settled over the tower. Ned's gray eyes lock onto Rhaegar. He steps forward, jaw clenched. Lyanna wants her child, he says, voice cold and formal though his heart is breaking. Give him to me. Rhaegar looks down at the infant in his arms. His son. The prince's cheeks are wet with tears Ned refuses to acknowledge. Gently, he brushes a finger against the baby's cheek to soothe its crying. She wants to see him? Rhaegar asks quietly, as if struggling to find words. Aye. Ned holds out his hands, not trusting himself to speak more without his fury or sorrow spilling over. Up close, he can see the infant's tiny face, flushed and squalling, a shock of dark hair matted to his scalp. The child's eyes are a cloudy newborn blue, opening and closing fitfully as he cries. Ned's heart lurches. The babe looks so much like Lyanna's side of the family. For a second, Ned imagines a resemblance to his brother Brandon as a baby. My nephew. Rhaegar hesitates only a moment before carefully transferring the infant into Ned's arms. Ned cradles the baby with the tenderness of someone who has younger siblings and a father's heart. Though he has no children of his own yet, he instinctively knows how to support the tiny head. The baby fusses, mewling, but Ned gently bounces him and murmurs soft, shushing sounds, It's all right, little one, he whispers, a tear slipping down his face. Gods, he's so small. Rhaegar watches Ned with an expression of quiet anguish. His name is Aemon, he says softly, echoing what Lyanna told Ned upstairs. Named for the noblest Naya who ever lived. There's pride and pain intermingled in his tone. Ned meets Rhaegar's eyes. Lyanna wished to name him Jon, after our father, he says curtly. He knows he's needling Rhaegar by saying it, but cannot resist. The difference between their worlds is encapsulated in those names. A simple northern name versus a lofty Targaryen one. Rhaegar winces slightly, as if struck. If she wished it, then Johnny shall be, to her. He bows his head. But to the rest of the realm, he must be Aemon Targaryen, the Prince of Summerhall. Ned bristles at that, anger flaring through his sorrow. Prince, is it? Already shaping him for the Iron Throne, are you? He snaps under his breath. My sister's dying up there, alone and scared, and you speak of titles. The baby, Jon, Aemon, whatever his name, whimpers at the harshness in Ned's voice. Ned takes a steadying breath, rocking the infant gently again. I'll take him to her. That's all that matters now. Rhaegar's eyes flash at Ned's tone. Some emotion, regret, shame, or defensiveness, tightening his features. But he only nods. Tell Lyanna. Tell her that His voice breaks for a moment. He straightens, regaining composure with effort. Tell her our son is healthy and strong, and that I will keep him safe. Solemn. Swear that to her, if I cannot. Ned's jaw clenches. He does not trust himself to reply. Instead, he turns away with the babe and ascends the tower stairs once more. Lyanna's breathing is faster now, shallower. Ned can tell the end is near the moment he re-enters the chamber. Her eyes flicker to the bundle in Ned's arms. Summoning one last reserve of strength, she lifts a trembling hand. Ned kneels and carefully places the newborn into the crook of Lyanna's arm. He supports her as she holds him. Lyanna's face transforms as she gazes down at her child. Wonder, love, and sorrow shine in her gray eyes. Hello, Jon, she whispers, using the name she chose. Her finger traces the baby's cheek, and he falls quiet, looking up at his mother with wide, unfocused eyes. My sweet boy. Ned feels hot tears slide down his face unchecked. He wraps one arm around Lyanna's shoulders, holding her and the child both as if he could somehow keep them from slipping away. Lyanna presses a tender kiss to the infant's forehead. A peacefulness comes over her bruised face. Thank you, she mouths to Ned, her voice too faint to hear. Ned bows his head beside hers. Brother and sister sit together in silence for a few eternal moments. The only sound the baby's soft whimper and the breeze rustling the wilted rose petals on the floor. At length, Lyanna's breathing grows labored again. Her strength fading, she looks to Ned one last time. Remember your promise, she breathes, so low he can barely catch it. Her grip on the baby loosens. I will, Ned chokes, tightening his arm around her. I won't fail you, Lya. On my life. He leans his forehead against hers. Lyanna closes her eyes. A final tear slips from beneath her lashes. Then, with a shuddering sigh, Lyanna Stark goes still against Ned's shoulder. Ned feels the exact moment her life leaves her. It is as if all warmth rushes out of the room. He is distantly aware that he's begun to sob, his body shaking with it. The infant in Lyanna's limp arm starts to cry again, sensing something wrong. Ned gently takes the child back into his arms, cradling him close even as he clings to Lyanna's body. Outside, someone, perhaps Rhaegar, calls Lyanna's name in anguish, having sensed what has happened. Ned barely hears it. He presses a trembling kiss to Lyanna's cooling forehead and closes her staring eyes with his fingers. "Goodbye, my sweet sister," he whispers brokenly. "I'll bring you home. I promise." He stays like that for a long minute, holding the orphaned newborn, holding his sister's hand, as the sun begins to set beyond the Tower of Joy. In the fading golden light, Eddard Stark swears that Lyanna's child will not come to harm, whatever it takes. It is the last promise he will ever make to her, and the most important vow of his life. The Lion's fate. Lord Tywin Lannister sits rigid atop his warhorse, gazing at the red walls of King's Landing as his host assembles before the Gate of the Gods. The afternoon light slants across the plain, glinting off thousands of Lannister spear points. Dust clouds billow where his soldiers shuffle in uneasy anticipation. Tywin's face is a mask of cool composure, but inside his mind ticks through calculations rapidly. News of the battle has finally reached him. Prince Rhaegar has triumphed at the Trident. Robert Baratheon is slain. The rebel cause is all but extinguished. This is precisely the outcome Tywin has awaited. Now he must act, decisively and wisely, to secure House Lannister's position in the new order. He flexes his gold-armored gauntlet on the reins, surveying the capital's high gates. Above, the royal banners still fly. The crowned stag of Baratheon flutters alongside the dragon of House Targaryen, a confused signal of allegiances in flux. Inside those walls, King Aerys II sits on the Iron Throne, paranoid and treacherous as ever. Tywin's lip curls faintly. The mad king had refused Tywin's counsel and insulted his honor years ago. Tywin had remained in Casterly Rock, waiting, watching as the rebellion unfolded. Now fate has delivered an opportunity to him. A horn sounds from the city ramparts. Tywin raises a hand to halt, his bannermen's advance just out of arrow range. He has donned full battle regalia, a magnificent crimson armor chased with gold, a lion's head helm under his arm. But he does not intend open battle here if it can be helped. No, this calls for delicacy and guile. At his side, Sir Kevan Lannister, his brother and loyal second, leans over. "The gates remain closed, my lord," Kevan reports quietly. On the walls, archers in Targaryen livery have arrows nocked, uncertain whether the Lannister army comes as friend or foe. Behind Tywin, tens of thousands of his men stand ready to storm the city if need be. But Tywin prefers a cleaner solution. "Raise the banners of truce," Tywin commands. A pair of standard bearers ride forward with white flags, alongside the golden lions of Lannister. Tywin clicks his tongue, and his column inches nearer the gate. He will try words before steel. A single rider emerges from the gatehouse, Grand Maester Pycelle, tottering on a mule and flanked by two nervous gold cloaks. Tywin suppresses a snort. Pycelle has always been his creature. The old man knows who holds the real power now. Pycelle rides up and bows from his saddle. "Lord Tywin," he quavers, "the king bids you state your intentions. The capital is weary from war, and..." Tywin silences him with a cold glance. "I have brought the might of Casterly Rock to secure King's Landing," he declares, pitching his voice to carry. "Prince Rhaegar has defeated the rebels. I come as a loyal ally to ensure the safety of the king and the city." He intentionally does not specify which king. Let Aerys assume what he will. Tywin's mind is already steps ahead. Rhaegar will be king soon, if he isn't already. Aligning with him now is paramount. But Tywin must appear the savior, not the conqueror, if he's to earn Rhaegar's gratitude and resume his rightful place as Hand of the King. Grand Maester Pycelle nods eagerly. "Just so, my lord, just so." I shall tell his grace you've come with all honor. The old master's eyes flick over Tywin's formidable host. He knows full well that honor is not the only thing on display. Will you swear your swords will keep the peace, should the gates be opened? Tywin's green eyes narrow. Aerys clearly doesn't trust him, not after how we parted. But Pycelle's presence here signals that some in the Red Keep counsel acceptance. Varys, perhaps, or the Queen's ladies. Tywin inclines his head in a show of courtesy. You have my word. No blood will be shed. My men will enter only to protect the city from any remaining rebels or rioters in the aftermath of battle. His word is as good as gold to Pycelle, who sighs in relief. Very well. I shall inform his grace at once. The Grand Maester turns his mule and hurries back inside as fast as his dignity permits. Tywin sits immobile, gauntleted hands folded to atop the hilt of his sword. As minutes stretch by, he imagines the chaos beyond the walls, Aerys shrieking at his counsel, Varys whispering reason, Queen Rhaella gone to Dragonstone and not present to calm her husband. Tywin's upper lip twitches in irritation. Aerys, you old fool. Don't do anything rash. At length, with a groaning of heavy timbers, the city gates begin to swing open. Tywin allows himself a small, thin smile. Sir Kevin, have Ser Gregor take his men to secure the gatehouse and barracks. In a peaceful manner, he adds, his tone making clear what fate awaits those who disobey. Gregor Clegane is a blunt instrument, but he understands Tywin's orders well enough. They will occupy key points to ensure control, but they must keep up the charade of coming as loyal friends. Keevan nods and wheels his horse to bark commands. Soon, columns of disciplined Lannister spearmen march forward, flanked by mounted knights bearing the line of Lannister. They pass beneath the raised portcullis unchallenged. Tywin enters King's Landing to a scene of barely contained bedlam. Small folk crowd the streets, eyes wide with fear and hope. Some cheer half-heartedly, others scurry away at the gleaming approach of soldiers. The gold cloaks, the city watch, stand in clusters unsure whether to resist or welcome these newcomers. Tywin's reputation precedes him, and the uncertain outcome of the war has made everyone skittish. Tywin's face remains impassive as he rides through Flea Bottom. The reek of sewage and smoke thicken the air. He spares not a glance for the hovels or the gaunt faces peering from doorways. His focus is the Red Keep on its hill, where the Mad King perches like a vulture in a nest of wildfire. Tywin clenches his jaw at the thought of the caches of wildfire hidden under the city. A madness Aerys began in his paranoia. If Aerys suspects treachery, he might well try to burn them all. Tywin has already quietly ordered his fastest riders to locate and neutralize the known pyromancer dens. Hopefully, I'm not too late. Approaching the castle gates, Tywin is greeted by a contingent of gold cloaks under the commander of the city watch. They look nervous, but allow the Lannister men to take up positions. Pycelle and Varys stand waiting in the torchlit yard beyond. The spy master's face is unreadable, but he bows smoothly. Lord Tywin, how fortuitous that you have come. Unctuous. King Aerys will surely be relieved to have his former hand defending the city in this volatile time. Tywin dismounts, giving his horse to a squire. He nods curtly at Varys. Where is his grace? I would present myself immediately to offer my swords for his protection. The sooner he's face to face with Aerys, the better. Tywin wants that confrontation over with. He removes his lion helm, revealing pale green eyes and thinning golden hair at his temples. Not a speck of dust clings to his crimson cloak. Tywin remains impeccably composed. Pycelle wrings his hands. His Grace has remained in the throne room for now. He was uncertain of, your intent, my lord. The news from the Trident only reached him an hour past, and a sudden low rumble shakes the ground beneath their feet. Tywin's head snaps up. The scent of smoke intensifies. Boom! Another dull explosion reverberates through the city, followed by distant screams. Tywin's eyes widen fractionally. Wildfire? So soon? Varys' false smile flickers with alarm. My lord, it seems one of the wildfire stores has... Before he finishes, a panicked Kingsguard knight, Jaime Lannister, Tywin's own son, bursts out from a side door of the keep. Jaime's white armor is smeared with gore and green wildfire residue, his expression wild-eyed. When he sees his father, he freezes, chest heaving. A blood-slicked sword hangs from his hand. Father? Jaime gasps, as if he cannot believe the sight. Tywin's stomach twists at the disheveled state of his golden son. Jaime, explain yourself, he says in a deathly quiet tone, striding forward. His gaze takes in the Kingsguard cloak half torn from Jaime's shoulders, the smear of red across his cheek, the tension in his posture. What is happening? Jaime swallows, glancing between Tywin and the others. The king. Aerys. He tried to burn them all. He gave the order to ignite the wildfire along the city. Jaime's voice cracks with disgust. I killed the pyromancer, and then I slew Aerys. He lifts his sword, and Tywin sees it clearly now. The blade still drips with fresh blood, green tinge from wildfire. For an instant, time stops for Tywin. He processes his son's words with an icy clarity. Aerys is dead. Jaime did it. The mad fool actually tried to destroy the city as Tywin feared, and my son put an end to it. Tywin should be shocked, perhaps even horrified that his son violated the sacred oath of the Kingsguard, but instead a fierce swell of grim approval blooms in his chest. Jaime acted to protect the city, and conveniently removed the unstable king in the process. It is a scandal and an opportunity all at once. Tywin can work with that. He must, however, mask any semblance of pride or relief. He steps forward and grips Jaime's shoulder firmly. You did what you had to, he states, tone steeled with authority. His voice lowers so only Jaime hears. Low. And you spared your family and this city a greater horror. Jaime meets his eyes, tension easing slightly at the acknowledgement. Grand Meister Pykel sputters. The king, dead? Oh, gods above. He looks ready to swoon. Varys' mouth forms a small O of surprise, but his inscrutable eyes are already calculating outcomes. Such tragic necessity, he murmurs. Prince Rhaegar will surely see it in that light, Ser Jaime. Tywin straightens, mind already moving to the next step. Secure the Red Keep, he commands Kevin and the gathered Lannister men. No looting, no chaos. We uphold order in the name of Prince Rhaegar. His voice brooks no dissent. His soldiers rush to carry out the orders, spreading through the halls to subdue any remaining resistance from royal guards or pockets of pyromancers. He turns back to Jaime. His son stands near the throne room entrance ahead, cleaning his blade with a strip of white Kingsguard cloak. Fitting, as that part of his life is now ended. Tywin notes the distant haunted look in Jaime's eyes. The boy is likely grappling with guilt over slaying his king, oathbreaker that he is now. Tywin will address that later. For now, he says in a low voice, ready yourself. Prince Rhaegar may arrive within days. We will need to explain these events to him, carefully. Jaime nods stiffly. He may want my head for what I did. Tywin's voice is flat, decisive. He won't get it. I'll ensure Rhaegar understands you saved the city, and that House Lannister is indispensable to his reign. Tywin's mind is already working through the pitch. Rhaegar is pragmatic. He will see reason if presented properly. The fact remains, thanks to Jaime, King's Landing still stands, and Rhaegar's family, minus Aerys, is safe. If Rhaegar is wise, he will thank the Lannisters, not punish them. Tywin glances at Varys lurking nearby like a shadow. The spy master raises his silk-gloved hands. My lord hand, if I may call you that, I will gladly spread the word of how Sir Jaime heroically prevented the destruction of the city. In truth, I suspect King Rhaegar will not mourn his father overmuch, given Aerys' state. Tywin permits himself a thin smile. Varys is already on his side, as expected. The man aligns with power reliably. See that you do, Lord Varys. The realm should hear the correct version of events. He steps away from the throne, giving one last look at the congealing blood pooling around Aerys' body. Remove that carcass and have it prepared for burial, he says with distaste. We will give Aerys a funeral befitting a king, of course. Appearances must be maintained. As Tywin strides out of the throne room, flanked by his lion banners, he lifts his chin high. The Red Keep belongs to him for now. By the time Prince King Rhaegar returns, Tywin will have the capital orderly and under control. He will welcome Rhaegar as a savior returning to a secured kingdom, thanks in no small part to House Lannister. And when Rhaegar dons the crown, Tywin will be at his side once more, hand on the realm's tiller. Internal. The game is nearly won, Tywin considers, as screams give way to silence and his banners rise above the Red Keep. The Dragon Prince may sit the throne, but it will be the Golden Lion, who truly pulls the strings in the days to come. As always, King Rhaegar's return. The outer gates of the Red Keep swing open to a fanfare of horns, as Prince Rhaegar Targaryen, now by rights King Rhaegar I, rides into King's Landing with a small escort. Twilight has begun to fall. After days of hard travel north from Dorne, Rhaegar is streaked with dust and weary to his bones, but he holds himself tall in the saddle. Cradled in his left arm, swaddled tightly, is baby Prince Aemon, barely a week old. Rhaegar refuses to be parted from his son despite the nursemaid's offers. Not after everything. As he passes beneath the portcullis, Rhaegar's violet eyes sweep over the familiar yard. Lannister guardsmen stand at attention alongside gold cloaks. The Red Keep bears marks of recent turmoil, a scorched tower, some shattered masonry, but nothing like the utter ruin Rhaegar had feared if his father's wildfire plot succeeded. Thank the gods. He can still smell traces of smoke on the wind, undercut by the salty tang of Blackwater Bay beyond the walls. At the foot of the keep's grand steps waits Lord Tywin Lannister, resplendent in crimson and gold, flanked by a dozen knights. Tywin steps forward and bows deeply. Your Grace, he says, voice smooth and caring. Welcome home. Rhaegar reins in and dismounts, careful not to jostle the infant in his arm. Two Kingsguard, Ser Arthur Dayne and Sir Gerald Hightower, who rode with him from the tower, dismount as well, taking positions at his side in their scarred white armor. Rhaegar's gaze flickers over Tywin warily. Home, Tywin said. Yet the Red Keep feels anything but welcoming right now. Still, Rhaegar forces a polite nod. Lord Tywin, you have my thanks for safeguarding the city in my absence. Tywin straightens, inclining his head. I acted only to preserve the realm for its true king. Formal. I place my service and that of House Lannister at your Grace's feet. With that, Tywin kneels on the paving stones. Behind him, his household knights bend the knee as well. A ripple of red and gold cloaks. For a moment, Rhaegar simply watches Tywin Lannister kneel. It is a sight he never expected to see again. Tywin had left King's Landing in prideful anger years ago, and now here he is, bowing. The realm truly has turned upside down. Rhaegar adjusts baby Aemon in his arm. The movement draws Tywin's gaze briefly to the infant, a flicker of curiosity in the Lord of Casterly Rock's cool green eyes. You may rise, my lord, Rhaegar says. Tywin does so fluidly. Before any more courtesies, Rhaegar blurts, My father, King Aerys. What happened? The crisp mask on Tywin's face softens just a fraction into a facsimile of regret. A most unfortunate necessity, Tywin answers. When I entered the city to keep order, Aerys refused counsel and attempted to destroy us all with wildfire. Your Majesty's brother of the King's Guard, Ser Jaime, acted to stop him. The king was slain. Tywin spreads his hands in a gesture of remorse. It grieves me that such an end came to pass. Ser Jaime saved tens of thousands of lives by his deed, yet he's heartsore at the breaking of his oath. Rhaegar's throat tightens. Father. He had expected Aerys might not survive the coup that ending the war would require. In truth, Rhaegar himself had quietly pondered whether he would need to remove his father for the good of the realm. But Jaime Lannister's bloody deed and Aerys's mad last stand still strike Rhaegar hard. Despite everything, Aerys was his father. Where is Ser Jaime now? Rhaegar asks after a moment, voice controlled. Tywin nods to a side. From a column's shadow steps Ser Jaime Lannister, dressed no longer in the white cloak of the King's Guard, but in the crimson armor of House Lannister. The handsome young man approaches with visible trepidation. He goes to one knee before Rhaegar. Your Grace, Jaime says, lifting his head. I admit my crime. I slew King Aerys to prevent him from immolating the city. If I hadn't... Rhaegar raises his free hand to forestall any further explanation. He can see the torment in Jaime's eyes, a strange mix of guilt and defiance. The yard has fallen silent, all onlookers awaiting the new king's judgment of the Kingslayer. Rhaegar draws a breath. Ser Jaime, or rather Jaime Lannister, you broke a sacred oath as one of my father's guard. Jaime opens his mouth, face paling, but Rhaegar continues firmly. And by doing so, you likely saved my son. He glances down at baby Aemon, my family, and tens of thousands of innocents. There is no honor higher than that. Jaime blinks in astonishment. Tywin's eyebrow arches in silent approval. Rhaegar extends a hand. Rise, Jaime. As Jaime rises uncertainly, Rhaegar adds, I bear you no ill will. What's done is done, and perhaps for the best. My father gave you a little choice. A long exhale escapes Jaime. For the first time, his boyish face shows relief. Thank you, Your Grace. Rhaegar inclines his head in acknowledgement. Lord Tywin, Ser Jaime, I will address these matters more fully soon. For now, my priority is my family. He pauses, wetting his lips. Queen Rhaella, my mother. Have there been any tidings from Dragonstone? Tywin and Jaime exchange a look. It is Varys, standing nearby among the counselors, who steps forward, face a picture of gentle sympathy. Your Grace, I fear we have sad news, Varys says softly. Queen Rhaella died in childbed not 3 days past at Dragonstone. But you have a healthy new sister, Princess Daenerys? She has been brought here to the Red Keep under protection. Rhaegar's eyes sting at the confirmation of what he dreaded. His dear mother gone, and he hadn't been there. He bows his head briefly, collecting himself. And Viserys? My brother? Prince Viserys is safe as... Well, here in the keep, Tywin answers. A careful pause. He took your father's death hard, as expected for a boy of his age, but he will understand in time that it was necessary. Rhaegar nods, though his heart aches anew. Viserys is only a boy of about 8, and he's now lost his father and mother in the span of days. I must be strong for them all. I will see to my brother and sister soon. And Princess Elia, my wife, where is she? In your solar, your grace, answers Grand Maester Pycelle from the sidelines. We moved her there for her comfort. The princess and your 2 elder children have been anxiously awaiting you. At that, Rhaegar allows a ghost of a smile. He desperately longs to see little Rhaenys and baby Aegon. It's been months. Very well. I shall go to them at once. He looks to Lord Tywin. We will convene the council tonight after I have spoken with my family. There is much to settle. Of course, Your Grace, Tywin says smoothly. We've made arrangements for a coronation ceremony on the morrow as well, if it pleases you. The High Septon has been summoned. Rhaegar feels a swirl of fatigue and determination. King. It still doesn't feel real. Yes, tomorrow. He turns to Ser Arthur Dayne. Arthur, come with me. To the others, he gives a polite nod. I thank you for your loyalty. We'll speak soon. With that, Rhaegar ascends the steps 2 at a time, Arthur Dayne at his right. The King's Guard Knight's presence is a reassuring pillar. Arthur lived to see this day, unlike so many others. We made it, Arthur, Rhaegar murmurs quietly as they stride down the familiar halls of the royal residence. Targaryen guards snap to attention as he passes. Though at such cost. Arthur inclines his head. The cost was great, Your Grace, he agrees. But now there is a chance to rebuild. I know you will make the realm proud. There is warmth in his voice, a steadfast faith in Rhaegar that makes the new king's throat tighten with gratitude. They reach Rhaegar's solar. 2 Martell guardsmen in the hallway outside snap to attention. Rhaegar pushes the door open and steps in. Inside, the chamber is lit by dozens of candles. Princess Elia Martell rises at once from a couch near the window. Her dark eyes are huge with emotion, her olive skin drawn and tired looking, but when she sees Rhaegar, she lets out a joyful little cry. Rhaegar. In 2 quick steps, she's at his side. Rhaegar's heart twists with relief and guilt all at once. Elia embraces him gently, careful of the infant between them. Trembling relief. You're alive, she whispers. Tears glint in her eyes. Thank the mother. Rhaegar closes his eyes and holds her for a moment. The familiar scent of her, oranges and parchment, washes over him. Faithful Elia. I'm sorry I kept you waiting so long, he murmurs. Before she can respond, a high-pitched voice squeals, Papa! A tiny whirlwind collides with Rhaegar's leg. Princess Rhaenys, their 3-year-old daughter, flings herself at her father. Rhaegar smiles broadly despite all heaviness and scoops Rhaenys up with his free arm. My little dragon. He laughs softly, kissing her chubby cheek. Rhaenys giggles and hugs his neck fiercely. She has grown a bit. Her black hair tumbles in curls, and she's missing one front baby tooth. The sight fills Rhaegar's chest with warmth. See, Rhaenys, I told you your father would be back soon, Elia says, brushing tears from her eyes and trying to smile for their daughter's sake. The war is over now. Rhaegar gently balances both children, Rhaenys in one arm, baby Aemon in the other, and steps further in. At a cradle near the bed stands a Dornish wet nurse, holding baby Prince Aegon, who is nearly 1 year old now. Aegon looks up with large indigo eyes and breaks into a toothy grin at the sight of Rhaegar. He babbles happily and reaches pudgy arms out. Rhaegar's heart clenches as he bends to kiss the boy's forehead. "My son," he says softly. Aegon claps at his father's attention. The wet nurse curtsies and yields the babe to Rhaegar, who carefully passes baby Aemon to Arthur Dayne to hold for a moment. Arthur cradles the newborn with the care of a practiced warrior who's seen brothers in arms birth sons. Rhaegar then scoops up Prince Aegon and holds him high, making the boy laugh. Rhaenys, still clinging to him, squeals, "No, me too, me too." Ilya watches this reunion with a tremulous smile. For a blissful minute, the room is filled only with the laughter of children and soft cooing. Finally, Ilya steps closer, her eyes drifting to the newborn now in Ser Arthur's arms. Her smile falters slightly. "And this is Lyanna's child," she says quietly. There's a mix of wonder and wariness in her tone. Rhaegar exhales. There is no point in pretense. "Yes," he says. He nods to Arthur, who steps forward and gently transfers baby Aemon back to Rhaegar. The newborn fusses, and Rhaegar soothes him, rocking gently. "Ilya, I named him Aemon. He's healthy and strong." Ilya studies the infant. By some grace, baby Aemon has drifted to sleep amid all the movement. His tiny face is peaceful. Alya's expression is inscrutable for a moment, but then she reaches out and lightly touches the baby's cheek with 2 fingers. "He's beautiful," she whispers, though tears gather in her eyes. "He looks like her." Rhaegar swallows hard. The resemblance to Lyanna is indeed there, in the baby's tuft of dark hair and the shape of his little nose. The sight is both comforting and painful. "Lyanna died giving birth to him," Rhaegar says, voice thick. She wanted to name him Jon, after Lord Stark, but I chose Aemon." Ilya nods slowly. "I see." She withdraws her hand and folds her arms, rubbing them as if cold. "So what will you do now, Rhaegar? Proclaim him your true-born son by Lyanna? Or a royal bastard? Have you decided?" Her tone isn't accusatory, just quiet and tired. Rhaegar closes his eyes briefly. He knew this conversation would be difficult. "I will not dishonor Lyanna or this child by hiding him away," he says. "I intend to acknowledge him as my son. That much is certain. As for his status, resolute. I will issue a decree legitimizing him as a Targaryen prince. The realm must accept it." Ilya inhales sharply, turning away for a moment. Rhaegar steps after her. "Ilya, I'm sorry," he says, raw emotion bleeding into his voice. "I never wished to hurt you. What I did, taking Lyanna, was driven by prophecy and by feelings I could not deny. But you have always been my loyal princess, the mother of my heirs. That hasn't changed." Ilya's slim shoulders tremble. She dashes a tear from her cheek and faces him. "Hasn't it?" she says, and the hurt in her voice cuts him. "Rhaegar, we swore vows before the 7. I understood your obsession with the prophecy, the prince that was promised. I endured it when you left to find whatever you thought you'd find with her." She gestures toward the baby, "But I am flesh and blood." It hurt. Her dark eyes search his face. "Do you love him? That child?" Rhaegar looks down at Aemon sleeping in his arms and feels an undeniable swell of love. "Yes," he whispers. "I do. He's an innocent and has Lyanna's. How could I not?" Ilya nods, expecting that answer. "And did you love her?" Her voice breaks slightly. Rhaegar's throat works. He thinks of Lyanna's laughter under the trees at Harrenhal, her courage and tragic end. "I did," he admits heavily. "I loved her." The words hang in the air. Ilya closes her eyes. A tear slips down her face, but she quickly wipes it. Then, with a steadiness that surprises Rhaegar, she steps forward and wraps her arms around him and the baby in a gentle embrace. Elia rests her head against Rhaegar's shoulder. I appreciate your honesty, she says softly, shakily. I won't pretend it doesn't pain me, but this is our reality now. Rhaegar gently shifts Aemon and puts one arm around Elia, holding her close. Elia, I will make this right by you. I swear it. Ernest, you are my queen and will remain so. Our son Aegon is still my heir. Nothing will change that. Elia releases a breath she'd been holding. Doran will insist on that. She whispers, Prince Doran Martell, her brother and the ruler of Dorne. He wrote to me, concerned for my honor and our children's inheritance. I will placate your brother, whatever it takes. Rhaegar promises. Aegon will sit the Iron Throne after me, and Rhaenys and any future children of ours will be honored. I will not set them aside for this child. He looks down at Aemon's sleeping face. He will be family, but he will not displace our son. I give you my word. Elia pulls back to meet his eyes. She studies him for a long moment, then nods. Very well. Then I will help you raise him. Her voice wavers, but there is resolve in it. The boy deserves kindness. Lyanna was good to my children at Harrenhal, you know. She played with Rhaenys. I won't repay that kindness with cruelty to her son. Tears prick Rhaegar's eyes. He leans forward and presses his forehead to Elia's. You have a generous heart, Elia of Dorne, he says thickly. I do not deserve it, but I am grateful beyond words. Thank you. Elia manages a faint smile. Besides, I have always wanted another child, and the Maesters told me I could not. Perhaps fate sent me one in a roundabout way. She sniffles, half chuckling through her tears, though I would have preferred fewer swords involved. A wet laugh escapes Rhaegar as well, a release of pent-up sorrow and relief. He carefully transfers baby Aemon back to Elia's arms. She accepts the infant and cradles him gently, gazing down at his tiny face. Hello, little one, she whispers to him. Soft. I'm Elia. I suppose I'm your stepmother. Her voice hitches on the word, but she continues, I'll keep you safe, I promise. Rhaegar watches as Elia holds Lyanna's son for the first time. The candlelight plays across her tired but kindly face as she begins humming a Dornish lullaby to the sleeping babe. In that moment, Rhaegar feels a profound gratitude. Elia's forgiveness, or at least her willingness to accept this new reality, is an unexpected mercy. He wraps one arm around Elia's waist, his other hand resting on Rhaenys' dark curls as their daughter leans contentedly against his leg. Arthur Dayne has discreetly moved to the door, giving the family privacy. Rhaegar stands amid his children and wife, and his new son, and allows himself a moment of hope. Internal. The war is won. His family, though scarred, is intact. The prophecy that drove him to such lengths may yet be fulfilled, though the cost was dear. Rhaegar breathes in the warm, living sense of his beloved ones and swears to himself, I will be a better king than my father. I will unite this broken realm so that all this pain was not in vain. Tomorrow he will don the Iron Crown and face the lords of the Seven Kingdoms. He will have to mend the deep wounds left by rebellion, grant pardons, demand oaths of fealty, and reconcile with those he once called enemies. But tonight, in this chamber, King Rhaegar allows himself to simply be a husband and a father, reunited at last. As Elia rocks baby Aemon and Rhaenys hums along to the lullaby, Rhaegar closes his eyes and thanks every god who might be listening for the chance to begin anew. The Greyjoy Rebellion, 289 AC. The sea spray drenches Lord Eddard Stark as he crouches behind a shattered section of Pike's curtain wall. Overhead, dusk's sky churns with black smoke from burning longships. The Ironborn have made their last stand here on Pike, and Ned, armed in gray steel and mud, fights alongside the very man he once called enemy. Just a few yards away, King Rhaegar presses forward through a breach in the wall, his sword gleaming in torchlight as he rallies men up the rubble. Ned's breath mists in the salty air. He raises his shield just in time to catch an axe blow from a roaring Ironborn reaver. The impact numbs Ned's arm, but he grits his teeth and slams his sword into the raider's exposed flank. The man gurgles and collapses to the whetstone. Beyond the breach, the courtyard of House Greyjoy's keep is a scene of chaos. Bodies and burning timbers clutter the ground. King Rhaegar's banner, the three-headed dragon, flies beside Ned's direwolf standard in the dusk wind, marking the alliance of Crown and North. It still feels strange to Ned to fight under that dragon's sigil rather than against it, but here he is. Stranger still, fighting side by side with Rhaegar Targaryen, he muses grimly, yanking his blade free. A sudden shout. For the drowned god. A knot of Greyjoy axemen charge from a side passage, desperation in their eyes. They barrel straight towards King Rhaegar, who is momentarily exposed while helping a wounded Stormlander knight to his feet. Ned doesn't hesitate. Old instincts kick in. Protect your liege, your comrade. Your grace, behind you, Ned barks. He surges from cover and meets the first axeman mid-charge. Their weapons clang. Ned pivots, using the man's momentum to send him crashing against the wall. Another Ironborn swings at Rhaegar's back, but Rhaegar has already spun, Valyrian steel catching the axe haft and cleaving through. The king moves with lethal grace, armor crusted with spray and blood. One axeman slips past Ned's guard, jabbing a rusted blade toward his belly. Ned feels the point bite. His mail holds, but barely. He grunts, twisting away and bringing his North-forged longsword down on the attacker's collarbone. Bone crunches. The man falls with a scream. Shekra Rhaegar dispatches the last of the axemen with a swift thrust to the gut. He turns to Ned, breathing hard. Thank you, Lord Stark, Rhaegar manages, offering Ned a gloved hand to clasp, briefly in mutual respect. Your warning, I owe you. Ned merely nods, catching his breath. In truth, each finds it awkward to exchange courtesies in the thick of battle, but the moment marks how far things have come. 9 years ago, we were at each other's throats, Ned thinks, eyeing Rhaegar's silvered armor and Targaryen dragon helm. Now I defend him as my king. It still sits oddly in the mind, but Ned cannot deny Rhaegar's conduct these past years has earned grudging respect. A booming war horn sounds deeper in the keep, the signal that the gate has fallen. Men cheer. The last stand of Balon Greyjoy is collapsing. Ned pushes damp hair from his eyes. It seems the Kraken is beached, he says, allowing a hint of dry humor. Rhaegar nods, visor spattered with raindrops and soot. Come, let's finish this. He raises his sword high, calling out, With me, for the realm, for the North, Ned echoes, lifting his own blade. Side by side, the Dragon Prince and the Wolf Lord drive forward with their men, crossing the smoldering yard to Pike's Great Hall. Inside, the final confrontation is short and one-sided. King Balon Greyjoy, draped in mail and seaweed, wielding a driftwood crown, makes a last, furious stand on the dais of his hall. Around him lie the bodies of his 2 eldest sons, slain in the fight. As Rhaegar's forces flood in, Balon bellows defiance but is knocked to his knees by a spear thrust. Two of his remaining Ironborn drop their axes and yield when they see the king himself stride in. Rhaegar steps forward, sword in hand. The hall falls silent save for the crackle of distant fires. Balon, bleeding from a gash on his temple, glares up with unquenched pride and fury. "It is over, Lord Greyjoy," Rhaegar proclaims, his voice carrying in the vaulted stone hall. His hair clings in wet strands to his cheeks. "Your rebellion is broken. Yield, and I will be merciful." "Mercy?" Balon spits, grimacing in pain. "What is dead may never die, but rises again, harder and stronger." He tries to struggle up, but his legs betray him. Ned steps to Rhaegar's shoulder, ice blue eyes fixed on the defeated Ironborn lord. He remembers the ravaged northern coasts, fishing villages put to the torch by Balon's raiders these past months. Mercy for this man will not come easy to the north. Ned's jaw sets. "Balon Greyjoy," Ned intones, "you brought this on yourself and your people. Don't squander what life the gods have spared you." Balon's hate-filled gaze flicks to Ned. He bares his teeth. "Stark, you puppet of the Iron Throne. We should have sacked your White Harbor and made you drown in your seven gods' temple." Rhaegar's patience clearly wears thin. "Enough," he says, steel in his tone. He nods to two Stormlander knights, who haul Balon fully to his knees and wrench the driftwood crown from his head. Balon sags, finally silent. Rhaegar steps closer, sword tip inches from Balon's throat. "You will submit to the Iron Throne, Lord Greyjoy, or your line will end today. Do you yield?" Breathing raggedly, Balon Greyjoy closes his eyes. At length he bows his head. "I yield," he mutters, barely audible. A collective exhale seems to leave the hall. It is done. And Rhaegar withdraws his sword. "Lord Stark," he says, turning to Ned, "your counsel on what comes next?" Ned is momentarily taken aback to be asked so directly in front of all, but he clears his throat. "Your Grace, the Ironborn respect strength. Balon yielded to you. That is well. To ensure lasting peace, taking a hostage from his line would be wise." Ned's gray eyes shift to a frightened boy huddled behind Balon's surviving guards. Balon's last living son, Theon Greyjoy, no more than 10 years old. The boy's eyes are wide with terror and grief. Rhaegar follows Ned's gaze and inclines his head. "Agreed. The boy will be taken as ward. Who will keep him?" Ned knows the answer he will give, even as his stomach sinks at the prospect of another child taken from their home. It reminds him keenly of young Aemon in Rhaegar's court, and of his own wardship in the Vale long ago. "I will." Ned volunteers, voice firm. "Theon Greyjoy shall foster at Winterfell under my protection. The North suffered much at the Ironborn's hands. It's fitting he learn honor and hostageship there." Theon, overhearing this, looks between Ned and his defeated father in horror. Balon opens his mouth to object, face contorting, but Rhaegar's knights tighten their grip on him. Balon swallows whatever protest he had. Rhaegar inclines his head at Ned's offer. "So let it be done. The boy will be raised with the Starks. And Lord Greyjoy," Rhaegar addresses Balon one last time, "you shall live out your days under the watch of your own bannermen. My warden in the north and the warden of the west will ensure you cause no more trouble." A ghost of satisfaction crosses Tywin Lannister's face from the sidelines at that pronouncement. The Lannister fleet and armies played their part in this victory too, and Tywin will relish having an eye on the Iron Islands from the west. The king's commands given, Rhaegar sheaths his sword. The assembled royal forces begin to cheer, the sound building and echoing off pikes, stone walls. Another rebellion has been quelled. Rhaegar turns to Ned Stark amid the noise, extending a hand not in command this time, but in camaraderie. Ned hesitates just a fraction, then clasps Rhaegar's forearm firmly. Your Grace fought bravely, Ned offers, meeting Rhaegar's tired but satisfied eyes. It's the first true compliment he's given the man beyond formalities. Rhaegar's mouth lifts in a faint smile. As did you, Lord Stark. As ever. There is mutual respect here, forged in shared battle, a far cry from the bitter hatred that once lay between their houses. Ned nods. For the first time, he feels a weight lift in his chest. Perhaps he will never love Rhaegar Targaryen. Too many ghosts stand between them, but he can see the man Rhaegar has become. A man who leads from the front and listens to counsel, who has shown honor to Ned's family in the years since the war. Lyanna, perhaps your son will have a better father than we feared, Ned thinks, recalling the promise he made to his sister to protect her boy. Rhaegar has thus far kept Aemon safe and treated Ned's own children kindly whenever they crossed paths at court. It is more than Ned expected in the dark days after the Trident. Later that night, as fires die and ravens carry word of victory, across the sea, Ned stands on the battlements of Pike beside King Rhaegar. They look out over the moonlit bay filled with charred ship hulls. Rhaegar speaks quietly, so only Ned hears. We've had to fight 2 rebellions in a decade. I hope we will know peace for a while now, Lord Stark. Ned, ever cautious, replies, quiet. With respect, your grace, winter is coming. Peace or no, we must be prepared for what lies beyond our fights with mortal men. He thinks of the wall and the strange, unsettling reports old Lord Commander Mormont has sent in recent years. Rumors of darker things stirring beyond the ice. Ned himself has seen nothing concrete, but something in his blood senses a gathering cold. Rhaegar turns to study Ned, silver hair stirring in the ocean breeze. There's a curious intensity in the king's eyes. Aye, he says softly. I know it. There are enemies greater than these petty kings of iron and salt. Ned glances at Rhaegar sharply, hearing the conviction in his voice. It's as if the king truly believes in the old stories. Then again, Rhaegar is a man of prophecy. Perhaps he senses what Ned does. Rhaegar rests his hands on the cold stone rampart, gaze distant. We will speak more on this, Warden Stark. The wall, the threats of winter, I haven't forgotten them. He gives Ned a meaningful nod. Ned bows his head respectfully. In that shared understanding, a fragile camaraderie solidifies. They have come a long way from the Trident. In the morning, Ned will depart Pike with young Theon in tow, and Rhaegar will sail back to King's Landing to his own family. The North and the Iron Throne remain separate pieces of the realm, but bound now by threads of trust woven in battle and necessity. Ned allows himself a small measure of hope. The scars of the rebellion may never fully fade, but perhaps, under Rhaegar's rule, the realm can truly heal, just in time for the greater chill that Ned prays will never come, but suspects inevitably will. The Dragon's Awakening, 299 AC. Prince Aemon Targaryen, known to those close to him as Jon, rides through the overgrown ruins of Summerhall with a cloak of dusk falling around him. He is 15 years old now, a lean, sharp-featured youth with the dark hair of House Stark and the amethyst eyes of House Targaryen. In his short life, Jon has often felt pulled between 2 worlds, the icy honor of the North in his veins and the fiery destiny of the Dragon Lords in his name. Tonight, under a sky-bruised purple, he feels that pull stronger than ever. Summerhall lies before them, the collapsed shell of what was once a Targaryen summer palace. Vines and wild roses crawl over blackened stone. This is hallowed, haunted ground, the place where King Aegon V died trying to hatch dragons in fire and blood decades ago, a Woyaf. Westeros.org. Now Jon's father, King Rhaegar, has returned to succeed where his ancestor failed. The king dismounts beside a crumbling courtyard wall. Jon follows suit, boots crunching on old cinders. Despite the warm summer air, he shivers. The entire ruin smells of ashes and something else, a faint whiff of sulfur and sorcery that makes the fine hairs on Jon's neck rise. Steady, Eamon, King Rhaegar says softly, noticing his son's unease. Rhaegar's face is drawn and determined in the twilight. He places a reassuring hand on Jon's shoulder. Jon can't help but glance at the old stones around them and recall tales of Summerhall's tragedy, tales of wildfire consuming everything, YF, Westeros.org. Gentle. You trust me, do you not? Jon meets his father's violet eyes. How much the king has aged in recent years, weighted by concerns that he shares with few. Yet Rhaegar's gaze burns with purpose. Jon nods slowly. I do, father. Rhaegar's stern expression softens for a moment into a small smile, an expression he often reserved for Jon, especially when teaching him music or prophecy in private. Good. I need you here. Your presence may make the difference. Jon isn't entirely sure why he was asked to accompany the king on this secret journey. All he knows is that ravens arrived weeks ago from the Wall, bearing dire news. Whites sighted in the haunted forest. Rangers disappearing Game of Thrones, fandom.com, wildlings fleeing south in terror. Jon's uncle, Lord Commander Benjen Stark of the Night's Watch, wrote of dead men with blue eyes and chilling cold magic. When those reports reached King's Landing, Jon watched his father's face go pale with recognition and resolve. Soon after, Rhaegar confided in Jon what he had long suspected. The ancient enemy, the White Walkers, were real and stirring. The song of ice and fire, it was always about this. Rhaegar had murmured to himself in Jon's presence. Jon felt a jolt hearing the familiar phrase, the one the bard sang about his birth, the union of Stark and Targaryen. Now, at last, he was beginning to understand why he existed at all. Rhaegar unfastens his cloak, revealing 3 precious objects strapped to his saddle. Dragon eggs, their shells deep green, cream, and black with gold flecks, a woyef, Westeros.org. They're old petrified things passed down in House Targaryen, thought to be mere curiosities after a century of no hatchlings. Jon's breath catches at the sight. Even dormant, the eggs exude a strange vitality. By the mossy fountain at Summerhall's heart, a group of robed figures prepares a pyre of dry wood and oily rags. Among them moves Lady Melisandre, a red priestess Rhaegar invited from Asshai months ago. Melisandre's deep red garments and copper hair catch the light of the torches as she directs the placement of the eggs atop the pyre. She claims the Lord of Light has shown her visions of dragons reborn, and Rhaegar has heeded her counsel that king's blood and sacrifice might awaken stone. Jon distrusts the woman. Something about her unnerving scarlet gaze sets him on edge. But Rhaegar has kept her at his side of late, and she has fed his hope that dragons, living dragons, can be the realm's salvation against the coming darkness. Jon fingers the wolf's head pommel of his sword, feeling the comforting presence of good northern steel. As they approach the pyre, Melisandre bows her head to Rhaegar. Your Grace, the hour is at hand. The comet you spoke of burns bright in the sky. A true sign. She gestures upward. Indeed, through a break in the clouds, a red comet streaks across the night sky. Game of Thrones, fandom.com, casting a faint ruddy glow on the ruins. Jon hadn't even noticed it until now. An uneasy thrill goes through him. That comet only appeared in the past fortnight. Some say it heralds war or the rise of magic. Red for blood and fire, Melisandre intones, her voice lilting with fervor. The Lord of Light shall awaken the stone dragons this night. Rhaegar inclines his head gravely. Let it be so. He turns to Arthur Dayne, now aging but ever formidable, who stands guard with two other Kingsguard knights at a respectful distance. Ser Arthur, remain at the perimeter. No one interrupts us. Arthur hesitates, only a heartbeat. He glances at Jon, then bows. As you command, Your Grace. The white-cloaked knights spread out to secure the area, leaving Rhaegar, Jon, Melisandre, and the handful of red-robed acolytes alone by the towering, unlit pyre. Rhaegar draws Jon a step aside, speaking low. Aemon, if this works, the world will change tonight. If it fails... He trails off, eyes haunted for a moment by doubt. In that instant, he doesn't look like a king, just a man carrying the weight of prophecy on his shoulders. Jon feels a surge of empathy and love for his father. It will work, Jon says quietly with a conviction he's surprised to feel. Perhaps the presence of the comet overhead steals him, or the distant memory of Lyanna Stark in his blood. Ice and fire. Resolute. It has to. Rhaegar's lips curve in a grateful smile. He squeezes Jon's shoulder. When the flames are at their height, stand back. No matter what happens, you must stay back. Promise me, Jon. Jon starts at the echo of his mother's last words. Promise me, Ned. He nods solemnly. I promise. Satisfied, Rhaegar steps forward. With ceremonial reverence, he lifts each heavy dragon egg and places it in a cradle of kindling atop the pyre. The green egg, the cream and gold, and the coal-black one, arranged in a triangle around a stack of wildfire pots hidden in the wood. Melisandre begins to chant under her breath in a foreign tongue, her ruby necklace glimmering with each phrase, awaya-fat-westeros.org. The red priests encircle the pyre, each bearing a torch. Prince Aemon, Melisandre calls, her voice echoing against the dark ruin walls. Will you lend your flame to the rebirth of the dragons? Your blood is... The song of ice and fire. Come, light the pyre with us. Jon glances to Rhaegar, who gives him a gentle nod. Though uncertainty coils in his gut, Jon takes up a torch from a nearby priest and joins the circle. He can feel his heart pounding. Up close, the dragon eggs look almost alive in the flickering torchlight. The black one especially seems to drink in the light like a hungry void. Melisandre raises her arms. We ask the Lord of Light to send his fire, to wake these children of flame from stone. Her eyes burn like twin embers. Light the pyre. As one, they thrust their torches into the oil-soaked wood. Jon hesitates a fraction, then follows suit, touching his flame to the base of the structure. The dry timber catches instantly. Fire races along the pyre's base with a roar, blooming upward in a wave of orange heat. Jon staggers back from the sudden blaze, shielding his face. Within moments, the dragon eggs are engulfed in swirling fire. The priests chant louder, a rhythmic cry to Ruller. King Rhaegar stands very still, eyes fixed on the inferno, lips moving silently, perhaps praying, perhaps reciting prophecy. The flames climb higher, devouring the wood. Jon's torch falls from his hand, forgotten as he stares. Over the roar of fire, Melisandre's voice rises. Azor Ahai, we call to you. Let the flames reveal the truth. Bring forth your children. Suddenly, a loud crack sounds from the pyre, one of the wildfire pots igniting. Green flame erupts, intermingling with the orange. The conflagration surges twice as high, painting the ruins in an eerie green glow. Jon flinches as heat blasts his skin. The air itself seems to shimmer. Within the inferno, shapes writhe. Jon squints, heart lurching. The dragon eggs, wreathed in fire, are beginning to smoke. Could it be? The black egg's surface glistens as hairline fractures web across it. Father! Jon shouts over the din, half in fear, half in astonished hope. Shady Rhaegar steps closer to the pyre, too close. The edge of his cloak catches an ember and smolders. The king pays it no mind. He is transfixed by the hatching eggs. Odd. It's happening, Jon hears him whisper. A second crack splits the night, the green egg now flaking apart in the heat. Jon can hardly breathe. Amid the coiling smoke and flame, he swears he sees something move, a serpentine form unfurling within the pyre. Melisandre laughs in pure exultation. Yes, yes, she cries. The ruby at her throat pulses with light. Come forth, children of dragons, come forth! With a shattering noise, the largest egg, the black and scarlet one, bursts. A shower of sparks and shell fragments flies outward. From the heart of the blaze, a high-pitched screech resounds, the unmistakable cry of a living hatchling. A scaled wing flaps frantically amid the flames. Jon's eyes sting, not just from smoke. Tears flood his vision. Dragons, real dragons, alive in the world once. More. The priests shrink back instinctively as the newborn creatures squall for the first time. Rhaegar lets out a triumphant, broken sob. Overcome, he steps nearer, reaching as if to embrace the fiery offspring of his hopes. Jon's euphoria flips to alarm. The fire is still raging, and his father is walking directly into it. Father, no! Jon yells. He darts forward without thinking, arm outstretched. But Rhaegar is already beyond reach, disappearing into the column of light and heat. For one suspended moment, Jon sees his father's figure silhouetted in the flame, reaching toward a small, dark shape, a hatchling struggling to free itself from shell. In that moment, Rhaegar Targaryen looks like a figure out of legend, a man crowned in fire. Then a sudden whoosh, a secondary cache of wildfire ignites. The pyre explodes upward in an emerald inferno. Jon staggers back as a wave of scalding heat knocks him off his feet and flat onto the stone yard. Father! Jon screams hoarsely, scrambling up. Arthur Dayne is at his side in an instant, having sprinted over when the explosion occurred. The Kingsguard knight grabs Jon by the arms, preventing him from throwing himself into the blaze after Rhaegar. The next moments pass in a hellish blur. Melisandre is shouting in alarm, her chant broken at last. The firestorm begins to collapse inward, the fuel nearly spent. Jon wrenches free of Ser Arthur's grip as soon as he's able and rushes to the edge of the pyre, heedless of the heat. The flames gutter lower, revealing a charred mound of ash and ember where the pyre stood. Of Rhaegar, there is no sign, until Jon's searching eyes catch a glimpse of blackened armor on the ground. No, he whispers, throat raw. He half falls to his knees, pawing through the hot debris with gauntleted hands. Searing pain lances his palms, but he doesn't care. Father. At last he finds him, or what remains. Rhaegar's body lies prone amid the ashes, burned beyond mortal endurance. His once silver hair is gone, his kingly raiment reduced to char. Jon lets out a wrenching cry and tries to drag the body clear, the flesh so hot that it scalds even through Jon's gloves. Ser Arthur appears, helping pull Rhaegar's form away from the worst of the heat. Rhaegar Targaryen's eyes flutter open, impossibly. He is still alive, barely. Blistered lips part, and he emits a faint, wet gasp. Jon cradles his father's head in trembling arms. I'm here, Jon chokes, tears cutting tracks through the soot on his cheeks. urgent, broken. Father, we did it. The dragons, they're alive. Please, hold on. Rhaegar's ruined face actually smiles at those words. With unbelievable effort, he lifts a charred hand and touches Jon's arm. His violet eyes, dimming, lock on his son's stark gray ones. In them is a desperate love, a plea, and peace all at once. When he speaks, his voice is a raw whisper that Jon must lean in close to catch. Protect them. Promise me, Aemon. Jon's heart shatters. He nods frantically, tears dripping onto their joined arms. I promise, he whispers, voice breaking. On my life, I promise. A slight nod from the king, and then Rhaegar Targaryen releases a final rattling breath. His scorched hand slips from Jon's arm to hang limp. The last dragon of the old era is gone. Jon does not remember keening, but later they tell him his grief-struck cry echoed through the ruins, loud enough to startle sleeping ravens from the broken towers. He clings to his father's lifeless husk until Ser Arthur gently, sorrowfully, pulls him away as the ashes stir with a new motion. From the smoking remnants of the pyre, 3 small shapes emerge, crawling weakly over the debris. 3 hatchling dragons, one green as jade, one as pale as golden cream, and one black as coal with red shining through its scales, squawk and stumble toward the nearest living people they see. Melisandre falls to her knees, weeping tears of joy now. Dragonstone come alive. Azor Ahai's promise fulfilled, she proclaims, though no one heeds her. Jon, numb with loss, turns to behold the hatchlings. The black and red one toddles toward him specifically, drawn by some instinct. It gives a tiny questioning chirp and flaps sodden wings. Jon meets his eyes, startlingly intelligent, a deep crimson color like hot coals. He extends a shaking hand. The little creature bumps its head against his palm, keening softly as if sensing his sorrow. Jon lets out a shuddering breath. This dragon, could it be the very one Rhaegar died to bring forth? For him. The hatchling crawls closer, curling against Jon's side with a surprisingly gentle warmth. Ser Arthur bows his grizzled head, voice thick with emotion. Your Grace, he addresses Jon quietly. In the span of minutes, everything has changed. Jon has become the first of a new generation of dragon lords, and unthinkably, king of the 7 kingdoms. Jon looks up, tears still glistening on his cheeks, but a light kindling behind his gray eyes. He rises unsteadily, the black hatchling perched on his forearm, clinging with tiny claws to his leather sleeve. The creature spreads its damp wings and lets out a shrill cry that echoes across Summerhall. Jon lifts his head to the bleeding red sky, where the comet blazes triumphantly. All the grief, fear, and awe within him crystallize into resolve at that moment. He is Aemon Targaryen, born of ice and fire, and he knows what he must do. He turns to Ser Arthur, Lady Melisandre, and the others present, his voice hoarse but steady. We will take these dragons north, Jon announces. As he speaks, the green and cream hatchlings hobble to his feet, drawn to his calm authority. The true enemy awaits beyond the wall. My father gave his life so these creatures could be born. We will not let that be in vain. Melisandre bows deeply, eyes shining. The prince that was promised, she murmurs reverently, gazing at Jon with newfound wonder. Jon doesn't feel like any promised prince. He feels like a boy who has just lost his father. But he straightens his back, gently stroking the warm, living dragon on his arm. Ready the horses, he says quietly to Ser Arthur, who immediately moves to comply. As dawn breaks over the ruins of Summerhall, the smoke of Rhaegar's funeral pyre mingles with the morning mist. Jon stands amid the quieting ashes. 3 newborn dragons now flocked around him, their small bodies radiating heat. He casts one last, long look at the covered form of his father, the man who believed so fiercely in a prophecy that he sacrificed everything to see it realized. In that silent farewell, Jon feels Lyanna's blood and Rhaegar's blood both burning in his veins. The long night is coming, but he's not alone. The last dragons have returned to stand with the living. Swallowing his sorrow, King Aemon Targaryen gathers the reins of duty into his hands and steps forward into the dawn. His tiny dragon screeching a song of fire that will light the path ahead in the darkness to come.